Imagine getting 30 rejections. Like, think about it for a moment. It takes so much time and effort to apply for one scholarship. Now, imagine getting 30 rejections. 30 rejections from different universities, different supervisors, different countries. 30 rejections. I mean, almost anyone would want to give up. But Muhammad Bello did not give up. Why not? Well, in today's video, we'll find answers to that question. I've started a new series called Success Stories, where I try to look behind the scenes of successful scholarship applicants to find out what they did differently. Because for some of them, even with first class, they got rejection. And in the case of Muhammad Bello, he said it in himself, premium rejections. Premium rejections. So what changed? So in this video, I try to ask him his motivation. How did he search for scholarship? What was the scholarship application process like? What were the challenges? How did he overcome the challenges? Did he need to take language tests? Where did he graduate from? And many other questions. And to tell you the truth, I learned a lot from this interview section with him, and I'm sure you would also learn a lot because he shared valuable insight, interesting things, like I would say gems. So if you're interested in things like this, remember to like and subscribe and join the amazing growing family. And you too can be one of the successful scholarship applicants. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Brendo. I'm a doctoral student here at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, United Kingdom. And this helped me to see that you don't have to be the best. You don't always have to be the best. You just have to be intentional. You have to be deliberate in your scholarship application process. This is one of the interviews I really enjoy so much, and there are many more to come. So remember to like and subscribe. So now let's get right into the video.
I have a first class, but somebody that didn't have a first class got that scholarship. Scholarship journey is not really for the weak because you encounter a lot of setback, challenges and rejections also, which will bring down your morale, and even sometimes you question your sometimes what you may think as compelling, it is what they will see as very surface, so something that is very below the bar, especially since these people are experts in this area. Recently, I was looking at one of my proposal that I did years back, and I was like, yeah, even if I'm the one offering the scholarship, I wouldn't have offered myself the scholarship. That applied to not less than, I would say, 30 scholarships.
30 scholarships.
Yes,
That is
tons. So throughout the year, it was just premium rejections, but scholarship are becoming extremely competitive. There are just, few slots, but with a thousand of applicants. So for you to be able to maximize your chances of getting one, you have to apply.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brendo, and I'm here with someone special. I'm here with Mohammed Bello from the University of Strathclyde. We'll be looking at his success story. He's one of the scholarship applicants who has been successful in his application. And today we want to hear from him how he did the application. Mohammed Bello, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So we have a couple of questions. We have some questions here. They are not a couple questions. I apologize. There are some questions here, and I'm sure everyone else would be interested to know the answers to these questions. The first one we have here is, could you briefly introduce yourself, like your name, your country, and the scholarship you received?
Yeah, sure. My name is Bello Muhammad Abdullahi, and I am a Nigerian. So I have received both the Petroleum Trust Development Fund scholarship and the Northwest Social Science Doctoral Training Partnership Studentship. And yeah, so I'm currently completing my master's in applied economics at Strathclyde Business School.
That's interesting. You mentioned, was it one scholarship you mentioned or two separate scholarships?
Yeah, two, one for my master's and then one for PhD.
Okay, so that means your master's program is funded, and while you're doing your master's program, you've also secured funding for your PhD.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that is interesting. We'll get to talk about those soon. So, what program or course are you currently pursuing with your master's scholarship?
MSc Applied Economics.
Okay, okay. All right, so MSc Master's Economics. Okay. So, what
Yeah.
motivated you really to apply for the scholarship, the master's one?
Well, as somebody who, growing, develop like say developing country, I've always nurtured this dream of becoming an institutional economist. And I know, like, for you to become an institutional economist, for you to work in institutions that deals with policy making and do a lot of stuff related to economics, like, you need some certain advanced knowledge in economics, say maybe a master's or a PhD. So I always know that I'm going to have a master's and a PhD in economics, but I, in addition to that, I wanted to have it from a country outside my own country because I feel like going through school right from nursery, primary up to undergraduate, I should really go outside of my country. Plus, I really need funding for me to be able to fund my studies outside my country because I come from a developing country and school here actually is very, extremely expensive. So I can only be able to do that with funding. So basically, that's my motivation for applying to the scholarship. I'll be able to get the funding to fund my master's and to fund my PhD, which without that, I will not be able to pursue. But
That's interesting. So now that you have secured the master's scholarship, and it's, I would assume, towards the end of your master's program,
yeah,
what motivated you then to go for the PhD scholarship?
yeah. So my motivation is that as I mentioned earlier, I want to be an institutional economist working in a kind of multilateral organization where they deal with policy making and they basically work on informing economic development, not just in, Africa, but across the world. So basically, for you to get yourself in those kind of setting, you really need a kind of PhD in economics to be specific. So that's my own motivation.
That is interesting. I think I share your motivation too. The other question we have here is, um, how did you first hear about the scholarship opportunities, both the one for the master's and the one for the PhD?
Well, it is through personal research because after my undergraduate studies, I was like, oh, so since I really need to go for my master's and PhD also, and I need funding, how can I start? Where do I start? So I started researching the internet, browsing through some scholarship website, and that's how I came across both the information regarding the scholarships. So I then began searching YouTube to find relevant videos on this scholarship. So after watching those videos, I was able to extract some relevant information on the application processes, and then I proceed to, draft my own application for those scholarships.
Interesting. Just for emphasis again, so we know, can you mention the name of the master's scholarship?
The master scholarship is Petroleum Trust Development Fund scholarship.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
the one for the PhD?
Is Northwest Social Science Doctoral Training Partnership Studentship.
Okay, that's nice. I guess I'm just going to write that in the chat later, and then we'll find official links to both of them.
Okay.
And did you really apply to, or did you apply to other scholarships or?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did apply to other scholarship. One thing, one of my mentors always tell me that you should apply to as much as possible, that you can't not just applying randomly, but sending very qualitative applications in the sense that you can maximize your chance because now scholarship are becoming extremely competitive. There are just few slots, but with a thousand of applicants. So for you to be able to maximize your chances of getting one, you have to apply to as much scholarship as possible, such that if you didn't finally get into, let's say, the very first one you applied, definitely maybe before this, maybe the second one, third one, or fourth one, you get in. So
Mm,
I applied to a lot of scholarships. So I basically have even a kind of tracker that I do track my applications every application season to just see the number of scholarship that I applied this very season and to also prepare and gear myself against the next season.
mm. That is interesting. So just by estimate, rough estimate, how many would you say you had applied to, like
Well,
in
I
total?
think uh, immediately after my graduation up to this period, I've applied to not less than, I would say, 30 scholarships.
30 scholarships.
Yes,
That is that is surprisingly many.
I've applied to not less than 30 scholarship. And interestingly, I think I got almost 5 to 6 different ones that I just have to select randomly.
Oh, that is great. That
Yeah,
is great. That is great. That is great. Interesting. And then for the PhD scholarships, how many did you apply to?
I I think I applied to 7.
Seven.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. And then how many did you secure?
I finally secured one.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
so I think it's almost the same. So if we look at 6 in 30 and then almost one in 6 or 7.
yeah,
So if we're going to go by your example, if you want 5 scholarships, apply to 30.
yeah.
If
If you
you
want
want,
one, you apply to.
yeah, if you want one, apply to 7. If you want one, apply to 7. Okay, that's interesting. All right, then we'll make progress to the next one.
Okay.
This one's a key question into your process of applying, and you can refer to any of the two. Um, what do you think made your application stand out, both for the master's and then for the PhD? What particulars would you say made the application to stand out?
Well, I would always say a very well-tailored application, because I kind of try to learn from my experience. I know that I kind of have a very solid background from my undergraduate in the sense that I have a very strong degree. So the expectation is that maybe I just have to put in a very well-tailored, statement of purpose or a research statement or a research proposal. So when I first got my first rejections letter and the subsequent one, I knew that definitely I was doing something very wrong. So when I tried to kind of reframe my research statement, my statement of purpose, and other application documents, the uh, acceptance letter started coming in. So
Mm,
what I would really say made me stand out from others is very well tailored applications to programs have their own objective, for instance, right? So I just ensure that I tailored my application. If I'm applying to 2 different scholarship, there is this mistake that scholarship applicants do always make, in the sense that they will apply to 2 different scholarship or more with the same application document. So in my own case, I try to tailor my own application document to each scholarship,
mm,
such that the CV that I am applying for this very scholarship is different with the one that I'm using to apply for the other scholarship. The same thing with my statement of purpose and other scholarship application document. So I think this is what really made me stand out. And research proposal also, you have to make a very good research proposal that aligns with the objective of the program that you are applying.
mm. Yeah, that's true. I think those are valuable points. Those are valuable points. But I think there's a part we might have skipped in the introduction. What you've mentioned about the application standing out is good. Submitting well-tailored application.
Yeah.
But then it also makes us want to ask, did you, what did you study? Or what's your background in your undergraduate?
Yeah, I studied economics.
Okay, so economics. And then what did you graduate with? You
I
didn't graduate.
graduated the first class. I
Oh,
graduated of my class. I think I was the
okay.
overall best graduating in my department.
Oh, of course, your application has to stand out. But
Yeah.
then that also means that even though you graduated with a first class, top of your class, the
Yeah.
best graduating student, you still got a lot of rejection in your scholarship applications
Yeah,
until you did.
the real kind of truth about the whole scholarship scenario is that your class of degree, the weight it carries is not as much as the weight the other application document carries. For instance, I've applied to a scholarship I have a first class, but somebody that didn't have a first class got that scholarship. So which means that that person definitely has other solid application document that supersede mine. So this is one of the lessons that I learned throughout the journey. Your class of degree only does not suffice to you getting the scholarship, you have to make sure that your research proposal is also sound as your, say first class. Everything that you are basically submitting has to, be first class. You cannot submit, say, a first class degree, and then maybe your research proposal is very shallow, with no, enriching content or something that is well tailored to the objective of the program.
Mm, that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. I think you made a valuable point. You cannot submit a first class degree and then the other document looks second class or third class.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then someone who has second class upper, say for example, in degree, might submit first class document. Yeah.
Yes, yes. For instance, in that case, that I'm trying in this example that I was trying to highlight, the person has second class upper. My CGPA is higher than his, but other document that he submitted are kind of, they have better quality than what I really submitted. His research proposal is very robust and straightforward. And the same thing is with his research statement. It is very well, stated, very well clearly explained, and how it ties to his previous experiences and future career goals, which is something I did not really, detailed in my own research statement.
Mm, that is interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So, could you talk us through your application process from the preparation to the submission? And you could refer to the one for the master's or the one for the PhD. From the preparation to the submission, what was it like?
Okay, yeah. So I think the application processes are almost similar, I would say, because it first starts with, knowing the scholarship you are applying first, for instance, and then knowing the documents that are required. And I would say for almost all scholarship, the documents are almost similar. First, you need a CV and a statement of purpose. Some would call it statement of purpose, some would say personal statement, some would say a research statement, and then a research proposal, especially if you are going for a higher degree like MSc or PhD. So you always need this kind of full application document. So the first process is to have your CV well written, and then start writing your personal statement or statement of purpose. And then the next thing is knowing what you are going to research on. For instance, you cannot start, thinking of an MSc or a PhD without knowing what you are basically going to, work on during your dissertation or during your thesis, because these programs are, research focused, most of them. So you have to first think of your topic and then start writing the proposal. After writing the proposal, you now begin the application process. You upload your CVs and other document as well as your research proposal. And then I think most of the scholarship have this, their formal application form where you fill in other details that has to do with your educational background, that has to do with your own personal information, for instance, name, age, country, and other stuff like that.
Mm.
So after that, you then have, if you've progressed into the next stage, which is basically, because after the application, there is this stephen that most scholarship bodies do to check which applications really met the criteria first before even going to the next stage. And they will inform you that, okay, you've progressed into the next stage, either an interview, an exam, or even because some scholarship do not really require interview or exams, but some do require it. So as you progress into the next stage, they will inform you of what are you, encountering in the next stage, whether an exam or an interview. So in my own case, it was an interview. So I was informed that I've progressed into the interview. My application was solid and I've met the criteria. So now I'm progressing into the interview. So I prepared for the interview and I went for the interview. And I think after the interview, after some, weeks, I now got a response that I've gotten the scholarship. So this is basically the process.
Mm. Briefly, can you talk about the interview? What was it like?
Yes, the interview is basically about yourself, what you are doing now and what you are going to do in the future. So because most of the questions are centered around your background, what you've done before now, what you are doing now, and then what you are going to do in the future. I can recall the first question was that, okay, I should tell them about myself. So that's how I started telling them about my background, my experience, my other extracurricular activities that I'm engaged in, and other activities that I felt were related to me getting the scholarship. And then we then progress into what I'm doing now. I'm currently doing my masters, and this is what I've done so far. This is what I've done so far. And in the future, went into the future. What do you want to do in the future? That's as regard research. Okay, I told them this is what I want to work on, and this was my proposal. And okay, so can you walk us through your proposal? I think it's kind of the general question you always get if you've submitted a proposal. They will expect you to have, known what you are going to do, and then explain to them what you are going to do, because it is expected that you have a clear sense of what you are going to do before starting the program. So in my own case, I explained to them what I really wanted to do and how I am going to do it. So that's it basically. It's just about your past, your present, and then the future.
Yeah, and aspirations. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So in the scholarship process, what would you say were the biggest challenges during the application process, and how did you overcome them?
Well, for somebody that have been in the journey for quite a long period of time, I wouldn't say that recently there have been much challenges because I was there. So for most of the challenges, I was able to kind of identify them before this time. So I think the overall general challenge that I would say is that of writing a compelling research statement and a proposal. Because sometimes what you may think as compelling, it is what they will see as very surface, so something that is very below the bar, especially since these people are experts in this area. And then you as a student, you are just growing up in this area. And you don't even have any expertise or any authority to kind of say some kind of things regarding what you are doing. So I think that's one of the most basic challenges that we do encounter. So, and the easiest way to always navigate this is to have somebody who is kind of, way ahead of you, review your application document, say, for instance, the research statement and the research proposal, because they were there and they are far ahead of you. They will be able to pinpoint some mistakes in the proposal that will really improve your quality of application. Recently, I was looking at one of my proposal that I did years back, and I was like, yeah, even if I'm the one offering the scholarship, I wouldn't have offered myself the scholarship that period, because I just appeared to me now that the proposal is not up to what they would expect. And that time, I think I did the mistake of not having somebody review the proposal for me. So I just drafted it, and I felt that, okay, this is sufficient. So let me just submit it. And that's how I submitted it. And I got a very premium rejection.
Rejection. Yeah. I understand. I understand. Yeah. I remember getting premium rejections too
Yeah.
for my it was one
It's
of the
always part
first
of it's
application.
always part of the journey. You get
Yeah.
rejection and you get acceptance.
Yeah, it's part of the journey, really. In fact, for one of them, I had paid application fee. It was disastrous. I felt so disappointed.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Uh,
Sometimes you pay application fees for some of the schools, and then you still get rejected.
That's true. So, did you get recommendation letter? And if you did, what role do you think your recommendation letters play? How did you choose your referees?
Yeah, the recommendation letter also hold a very great weight in the application processes, because this is basically somebody speaking on your behalf, like saying, okay, I'm recommending this person based on his experience, based on his knowledge, and I am like basically somebody standing in for you. So this is what I look at recommendation letter as somebody standing in for you. And for somebody to stand in for you, even for instance, now in a case, let's say a court, it means a lot of things. So I do consider a recommendation letter as something very, very paramount and important in the application. So, and how I really choose my recommendation letter is I have my professors, some who know me on a kind of very personal ground. Not that we have any personal relationship, but the kind of student teacher and student professor relationship. There is these professors, maybe you've performed wonderfully in their courses, and then you kind of have this, personal ties with them, or you enjoyed their teaching or the way they conduct things, and then maybe you kind of have this personal connection with them. And then the other type of the relationship is maybe it is somebody that is, kind of an authority in the field, and you are looking forward to, becoming somebody like him. So you kind of have him as a mentor who you are always looking up to. So I think these are some of the kind of relationships. So I look at this and then I select my recommenders. One of my recommenders is somebody that we've been working with. Like basically, when I say working, I mean research, somebody that we've been conducting research with. And both masters and PhD are a research focused degree. So somebody must be able to speak to your research experience, research skills. For instance, now, okay, he has known me for, let's say, 2 years, and we've written articles together. We've written so many articles together, and we've published together. And I have equally contributed to all the processes. So he can speak to my individual contributions. And I think these are some of the things the application committee will always want to see a recommendation letter. How you've performed academically and how you've performed as it relates to research, and how your skills are going to be relevant in the program you are going to pursue now.
No, useful. A lot of things to dig there. Thank you so much. Well, we just have about 4 questions, but this time it will be based on insight and advice. So what advice would you give to somebody, maybe very quickly, what advice would you give to someone starting their scholarship journey?
I would say they have to, prepare early and be persistent. For instance, if you are thinking of applying to a scholarship, what I normally do is I do really start very early, maybe a month ahead before the call, starts. For instance, now if you look on the internet, you see a lot of information regarding scholarship even before the call starts. So I start my application before the call starts, so that I will have enough time to review my application and have somebody look over the application document. And then you have to be, persistent. Scholarship journey is not really for the weak, because you encounter a lot of, setback, challenges and rejections also, which will, bring down your morale, and even sometimes you question your self-worth, whether you are worth giving the scholarship and whether you have what it takes to be given the scholarship. And I will always use the word of one of my mentors who always say that there is scholarship for everybody, but then you have to just, keep going on. No matter the number of rejections, you definitely get one if you persist, and then also take with you some of the, corrections and feedback that you are being given.
Useful. And then one of the final questions, the scholarships you've won 2 amazing scholarships. How would you say these scholarships has changed your perspective or changed your life or perspective so far?
Well, it has, because basically, as I mentioned earlier, schooling outside your own, for instance, your own home country, for us that are coming from developing country, it is something that is extremely kind of expensive. So it is not something that everybody can afford. So it has really shaped my, my life entirely, in the sense that I see things quite differently now. So coming over here to study and interacting with a lot of people. It have shaped a lot of things, how I see things, and how I even view how things are currently.
Hmm, interesting. One follow-up question I think I did not mention at the beginning. Did you take the language test like IELTS, TOEFL?
Well, I didn't because I have this medium of instruction later back then from my school, which I used for my application processes. So one thing I will always advise, scholarship aspirant to do is to, if you did your undergraduate in English, what I mean here is that maybe the medium of instruction is English and you've been assessed and examined in English throughout the 4 years. That means that you have some, proficiency level in English since you can read, understand, and even be examined. So there is this medium of instruction later that schools do give to students if they're applying to, you know, admission overseas. So most schools recognize this medium of instruction as a kind of, you know, certification that okay, this person has sufficient knowledge of English language such that he can be able to read, understand, and even be examined. So I've never written the English IELTS or TOEFL. So that was what I was using throughout my journey and up to today.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing here with me. Oh,
Yeah,
Muhammad Bello, thank you so much. So much. You've really answered, I think, all the questions we have. Thank you so much. Although we had planned for 10 minutes, but it seemed to have exceeded. Just a quick one, if you can, within a minute or less. Any final words of encouragement for aspiring scholars, anyone who will be watching this?
well, yes, I would say it can be a very hard journey. For some of us that are here already, we know how difficult, it has been, especially, when you are faced with the rejection. Sometimes you just feel, reluctant. I'm not applying again. I'm not applying again. And all those kind of feeling. So it does happen. Now, I don't think there is any scholar that has not received, kind of rejection before. So I think you just have to persist. And sometimes it may even seem that okay, these things are no longer feasible. Because there was this time that I was, questioning myself. I told you that I applied to almost like 30 at first, and I just got like five. And that's to say I've received over almost 20 rejections. So, and this is not within a kind of application cycle. There was this year that I went through without receiving a single rejection acceptance. So throughout the year, it was just premium rejections, but I didn't really give up, and here we are today.
Here we
So
are.
I would just say that as a scholarship aspirant and as a scholar, you don't just give up. You have to persist. The rejections will definitely be there. Just be ready for them. You have to wear kind of, metal clothing on your heart such that the rejection will not really get into you. And the feedback that you always get regarding the applications, don't really take them personally. Just take them as a kind of way of improving, your chances of getting the scholarship. And also always try to seek for feedback, whether from the admissions committee or from the selection body. For instance, if you got rejected, follow up with the rejection. Thank you for the feedback regarding my application, but can you please, maybe explain or give me a kind of feedback as to why I didn't qualify for the scholarship. Most of these scholarship body are kind of very transparent and open, kind of committee. They will really tell you, okay, this is where you fell, short with your application, and this is where we felt that you could have done better. So if you can take that into your next application, improve on those areas, I'm sure that in your next two to three application, you really get an acceptance.
Oh, thank you so much, Muhammad Bello. That is insightful. I think we've got a lot of gems in the interaction and interview with you today. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank
So
you
thank
for
you, guys. Thank you so much, Muhammad Bello, and then we'll see you in the next video.